Tally-ho! Wings of silver, birds of steel. SilverHawks, heart in metal.
What's up, you beautiful collectors and action figure fans? Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And finally, after over a year and a half of waiting, I am super excited to finally say, on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the new Super7 SilverHawks Transformation Chamber Throne, and the one who used it, the evil MON STAR of Limbo. As I said, these figures have been a long time coming. Even longer than the over year that we've been waiting for these particular toys. Because we have not, to the best of my knowledge, gotten updated versions of these characters since they were originally out back in the 80s. And when it was first announced that Super 7 was going to be doing this franchise, there was a lot of excitement. But there was also a little bit of controversy. The excitement, again, for me personally, is the fact that I have wanted updated versions of these for as long as I can remember. The controversy, though, was that Super 7 informed us that their take on these would be done in a way to reflect how these characters looked in the animation, which is a huge difference from what a lot of collectors seem to have wanted. They wanted these figures to represent how the toys looked originally. And that's because those original figures were done with VAC chrome and looked fantastic. The problem, though, is over time, that chrome does not stay adhered to plastic very well. I actually do still have a few of my original SilverHawk figures, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little bit, but it was that decision that did seem to turn some people off. Honestly, not me, because I love the fact that they decided to go with that animation look because it still is accurate. But we'll see how good they look here in a bit. Now, right up front, these are two separate releases, but you can't have the throne without MON STAR. So I decided to kind of throw them in together because realistically, that's just a chair. So I'm not going to focus too terribly much on that. But for the packaging, very nice. I do really love how they got this very reflective packaging. This gorgeous red and silver. You see the SilverHawks logo right there. And this very nice open window that fully showcases the throne. And then you can see a lot of this really cool solar flare. I absolutely love it. Top section here has their Ultimates logo, as these are part of their Ultimates line. Come around here to the back of the package, and you can see MON STAR sitting on the throne. But that's more, looks like a CGI render of it. But the packaging on this is absolutely gorgeous. I love how that looks. And then for MON STAR, again, you got that very nice reflective package, which does look really cool. You can see me very nicely. You got MON STAR's logo right there. And then come around to the back, you can see that really nice embossed SilverHawks logo. But this is a slip sleeve style package, so you lift this up just like so. And there you have MON STAR, and that guy, this is my first time looking at him. I have not slipped that cover off yet, and that is absolutely gorgeous. Wow. So cool. You can see the different heads, the different accessories. Same type of design here with the package, with that very nice reflective text and foil going all the way around. Come around to the back, and you got an up-close image of them, as well as a little bit of a bio, which if I can get it focused here. There we go. Let's zoom in. That way we can see what's being written about the one and only MON STAR. So if you'd like to read that, go ahead and pause that right now. But really quite impressive. This guy is super clean looking. That is really nice. It is also worth noting that all of these do come with a bit of a mailer box. You can see MON STAR's here is more designed in that shape, whereas the throne was designed for that shape. But it's just this mailer box with the logo there. Nothing really else on there. You got some warning and contact information there. But this is something that we saw a lot with their Masters of the Universe Classics when they took over for Matty Collector. So I love that they still kind of actually include that. That's really cool. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have MON STAR and his transformation throne opened up and out of their packaging. And this is amazing. being the first figures that I've really wanted to get from Super 7, and being such a beloved franchise, I was really very much nervous about this. But if this figure and this throne are any indication of what they're capable of doing, I'm really very, very impressed. Now, starting off first, getting MON STAR out of the way, because realistically, as I mentioned, this is a 2 kind of figure release. Well, I shouldn't say figure. This is the transformation throne, and this is absolutely gorgeous. Now, price-wise, this is $44. I feel like this is kind of high, but one thing that really did impress me when I first got it was the weight of it. There's a thickness to this. Now, there is also a hollow aspect. You can hear it, like in here. This is definitely hollow. This is a little bit more... You can hear that sound in there. No, I'm not going to pull out a pencil. But you can definitely hear some of the hollowness. But what they do to kind of cover it up is actually kind of seal it to a degree. So you can see the bottom section here. This part here really doesn't have anything, but this is also a softer material. You can kind of see the flex there, whereas this is more of a rigid plastic. So there is going to be a weight difference. But one thing that is nice, coming in, I want to show the detail here. You can see a lot of really nice sculpted in detail, really nice paint work throughout the entire thing. The whole thing in general is quite impressive and really does have a very strong presence to it. Even when you look at the back here, you can see a lot of shading in some of this, which really does kind of show you exactly how much detail and kind of attention they put into this. I'm really very impressed, and it will work with the armored version of MON STAR that we're getting later on, which is great because, as you can see, it works very well with the unarmored version of him as a way to kind of sit there and kind of rule over his mob. Now, in terms of the figure itself, again, this is a separate piece. This one retails for about $55. You do get a lot with them. In addition to some kind of clutching hands, you do get a right hand here that is... I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this. This is a kind of like weapon holding hand, but he doesn't come with any weapons. But you can definitely see that he's got like this little trigger sort of thing. Now, he does couple with a couple other hands that have a hole on here for holding things. But again, you can see that the sculpt is definitely different. I don't really understand that so much, but you do have these right and left hands that have a kind of holding thing, in addition to that one that's designed to kind of look like it's got a bit of a trigger thing. With those, you also do get a couple other clutching kind of hands. Again, real great paint detail on here. Again, coming in to take a closer look at that so you can see what's going on, if it'll focus for me. You can see a lot of variation in the paint in there, which is really nice to see as well, which does go very nicely with the rest of the figure, which, honestly, the paint is something that completely is blowing me away. You also have a pair of fisted hands, in case you want to have him punching some Silverhawks, and then a couple pointing hands, because you can't have a bad guy without him pointing at you and saying, no, 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 you can't do that. But you also get a couple other accessories. You get Sky Shadow here, which this is cool because originally all the Silverhawks have their birds with them, their biomechanical birds. MON STAR really didn't, and he kind of was a little bit jealous and thinking that Tallyhawk and all those other ones were really helping the Silverhawks kind of beat him all the time, so he wanted to make one. So he took his little pet Sky Shadow, which you can see is this little gargoyle looking dude coming in to take a zoom in on that. Like I said, kind of gargoyle-ish looking, but really great paint detail on here as well. The wings are actually even articulated, which is cool to see. But this is what he decided to do. He kidnapped Tallyhawk and he used Sky Shadow as kind of like a base to create his own biomechanical beast, that being this guy. Now, the difference here is obviously this is him in his normal beast mode. This is him after he was cybernetically enhanced, but this is him in his sleeping form. The wings will open up and he's kind of like a bat for the most part, which is interesting because he goes from this little gargoyle-y dragon little dude to basically a bat sort of thing. But this is his sleeping mode. The regular open version of him flying around will come with that armored version of MON STAR, but this is nice that they include that because you can kind of just, I mean, it's like a bat, so maybe have him hang upside down or something like that. But you do have these main pieces here, and these are two additional head sculpts, which are amazing. Coming around here to take a look first at the main one that's on the body. Coming up and again coming in to take a closer look, and I keep having this weird thing where the camera keeps wanting to change the brightness and everything, but that is absolutely gorgeous. The detail on that is outstanding. You can see a lot of cool paint variation with the hair. The paint for the face looks really good. Even when you look at that eye patch looks really nice. Very nice yellow on the inside there. But this is just him kind of hanging out here. You can see that the hair is kind of flowing more towards the back. You can replace it very easily with a screaming portrait, which looks amazing, and then you have the hair kind of going off in different directions. That is really super cool. Again, I hate the fact that this camera won't focus on it. That is just such incredible detail. And then you have this other one, which is him with his mouth slightly open and his hair kind of flowing in a different direction. So both of these have a tremendous amount of detail sculpted into it, and the paint applications look really good. I am well, let's come back in here. I'm really very impressed with the overall look on these. I mean, it really is something that some people have warned me about with Super 7, that sometimes the paint detail, the figures aren't all that great in terms of how they look, in terms of the concept promo images, and then what we actually get. This really does. I also really like how this really is lit up, showing that the MON STAR moon is powering him up. That is really quite nice. And they swap out fairly easily. All you do is come around here to the head, pop that off, just like that. You have the ball joint right there. And then, let's put this guy in here. You got the ball joint underneath. And you just kind of feed that in there. And that it's stiff. Definitely stiff. But, let's see. Come on, get. And the hair's poking and hurting my hands. Alright, that's not going on there very well. And I don't want to force it because these figures are quite expensive. But if you heat that up, you probably can get that on there easier. How's this one gonna do? I mean, that one's already the head that was on them, so that should be relatively easy. There we go. Yeah, that pops on there pretty decently. So I would recommend definitely heating up these. That way you can make that a little bit softer to pop on there, just to be a little bit safe. But for the figure himself, absolutely amazing. I literally just watched a video where somebody got these as well. And I'm not trying to hate on that person whatsoever, but there's like, oh, I watched that show from the beginning. This isn't how he looked. He didn't have these spikes. He did. Go back and rewatch. You don't have to watch that much. Watch him when he's escaping the prison, because this is exactly how he looked. And I think that they did a terrific job with it. Coming in, again, to take a closer look at the details. Great paint variation through there. You can see a lot of black with red, looking really very nice. The spikes are definitely accurate. You have some lighter red elements kind of like this coming through, a lot of them with a lot of basically like shading and such, which looks really cool. The hair is kind of going all over. You got a little bit of hair piece coming there to kind of go along with the rest of the hair. His loincloth, this is a very soft goods loincloth, which makes it perfect for sitting on his throne. It flexes very, very easily. And then you can see, again, a lot of very nice paint shading throughout there. Even his little toes. I mean, look how ugly that big toe is. I mean, really very, very good. I'm like, MON STAR. Except he doesn't focus. Lame. But that is such a wicked cool looking. I mean, all of it is, I'm just blown away by how great he looks. Really very impressive. Articulation wise is also really nice. The head is on a ball joint. This is definitely a lot limited because of the hair here. So you do have to kind of be careful with some of the posing. The shoulders here do move forward and back. They move all the way around. They also hinge up about that far, which makes sense because these little shoulder bits do kind of get in the way. So that's totally understandable in terms of what's basically going to be limiting the articulation for the guy. You can't really go past that. He actually does have two upper arm rotations. You have a swivel here at the bicep, but you also have a swivel at the elbow. So you get a lot of range of motion with it, especially when you want to kind of rotate that around. I mean, that's really nice. I don't really know necessarily why they need to have the rotation at the actual elbow. I'm not complaining, but it's definitely interesting to see that. So I kind of dig it. He does have a rotation here at the wrists. They move forward and back. There is a slight rotation and movement here at the diaphragm, and then also down here at the waist section. So you do get a lot of kind of crunching that you can do, posing, rotation, things like that. The hips move forward and back. They move in and out. They rotate at the upper part of the thigh. Only one joint here at the knee, much like the elbow, so it is kind of limited in terms of how far you're able to kind of stretch that pose, but it's not bad really by any stretch of the imagination. Come down to the ankles, you do have a tilt that moves forward and back. You also do have the hacky sack, so you can have them play hacky sack with you. So overall, I'm literally speechless. I literally am. We never got a full figure like this in the original vintage line. So it's cool to get a transformed MON STAR, and I'm absolutely loving how this guy turned out. I am really super thrilled with the overall execution on this guy. And when it comes down to it, you gotta look and say, was this worth the wait? Over a year and a half? I gotta say I am. And one thing that I did see Brian from Super7 kind of talk about is that he really wanted to make it that, even though there was a real long wait with these, that when you get the figures in hand, that wait was worth it. And Brian, I can absolutely tell you, as a new customer for Super7, somebody who was really worried about the wait and the delays, for me, you really have made it well worth the wait. As I mentioned initially, I was really worried about this set. I've loved the SilverHawks for as long as I've almost been alive on this planet. It was basically like a space version of Thundercats. And while I really loved the Thundercats, I loved outer space a whole lot more, so naturally SilverHawks was one that I gravitated towards a little bit more. But because of that love that I had for the franchise, I was worried about these figures. But I can honestly say I no longer have any reservations going forward. These two pieces sold separately, I feel, though, are definite must-haves. That throne is going to be the centerpiece for your villains from SilverHawks. And finally being able to get an unarmored version of MON STAR is truly outstanding. Detail-wise is extraordinary. Articulation is top-notch. Sculpt work on here is wonderful. Is this figure worth $55? Because they are more limited than, say, a NECA release, I definitely think so. Not as many of these are being produced as, say, a NECA figure. So I totally understand the increased cost. And Super7 is definitely a much smaller company than NECA. And while there have been some hits and misses through the years for them, this is definitely a home run. And I'm on board for every single one of these figures. And like they did with Thundercats, going all out and creating the Thunder Tank, if they do the Mirage, I will flip a lid. But there you go, guys. There's my look at the new Super7 SilverHawks, MON STAR, and Transformation Chamber Throne. If you'd like to add either of these to your collection, they are available online at places like Big Bag Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. For both of those places, I'll put links right down there in the video description, where you can swing on over there and check out availability on them, as well as the rest of the wide range of Super7 pieces. If you choose to use that link to take you to Entertainment Earth to get these, in addition to getting free shipping if you spend over a certain amount, which if you pick up all of these you definitely will, using my link can also save you an extra 10% off of any figures that are in stock, saving you guys a little bit of money and helping to show your support for the channel. And as always, guys, please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching, and until next time, this is Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and auf Wiedersehen.
Articulation,